Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We've got an awesome program for you today, and I want to make sure we can get to all of the great content. So we're going to go ahead and get started. It's nice to see so many friendly faces. My name is Jane McCurry. I'm the Executive Director at Clean Fuels Michigan and the Michigan Clean Fuels Institute. Before we get started, a few logistical things. We've got coffee and water in the back. Restrooms are outside. Please feel free to help yourself whenever you need. Really excited that we have our first inaugural annual meeting today. Clean Fuels Michigan, for those who aren't familiar, I know we have a lot of members in the space. Clean Fuels Michigan is a nonprofit trade association. We're really excited that this year we also launched the Michigan Clean Fuels Institute, which is our 501c3 charitable arm. And so together, these two organizations are a home for collaboration and policy advocacy and cooperation for the clean fuels. Our mission is to make Michigan a national leader in the clean fuels industries, and to do that we have several organizational values. We think that this set of 5 values really exemplifies all of the work and the attitudes that are needed to achieve that future of Michigan, maintaining its leadership role as the automotive industry and as the fuel industry changes. And the focus for today's conversation is around innovation. The fact that we will need new solutions, we'll need new partners, we'll need to be creative as we look toward the future. And I can think of no better place to be having a conversation around innovation, but you'll hear more about that in a little bit. For now, I want to welcome the board chair of both organizations, Chelsea Uphaus, to talk a little bit about what she does and her role at the organizations.
Thank you. Thanks, Jane. Oh, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm Chelsea Uphaus. I'm the Director of Marketing here at ROUSH CleanTech. I've been at ROUSH for over 13 years now, and if anybody's not familiar with ROUSH, we are the same ROUSH Racing, if any NASCAR fans in the area. We also do a lot of the engineering work for a lot of companies in this room as well. So I want to just touch on a few of the projects that you guys may or may not know that we've worked on. We've got the Neuro here. We have a lot of autonomous work in our that we've experienced, and we also worked on the Google Firefly here. So these are all autonomous electric vehicles typically, and ROUSH has varying roles in these projects. We either do the manufacturing, or we help a lot of times if companies have more money than time, or those companies that are really good on the software side or the electronic side, but they don't know how to integrate that into a vehicle. That's when we are successful quite a bit. We've also had some hydrogen projects. We actually have 5 hydrogen trucks running out in California. And those have been really successful. You probably recognize these vehicles just running around on the roads today. Now, these are not electric. These are actually propane powered. So we do a lot in the medium duty space and propane. So we do propane commercial trucks like these ones here. We also do a lot in the school bus front. And propane's a good option. It's still cleaner. The fleets are going to save a lot of money. And it's also really good on the maintenance side of things. We do have over 50,000 vehicles running. We have more than 2 billion miles of data. And these are just some of the platforms that we are able to convert over to propane. Specifically here in Michigan, school bus, this is where we are seeing a lot of success. There's more than 20,000 propane school buses on the roads. In Michigan, we have over 700 of them, and they're really across the state. That's one of the good things, is that you can put infrastructure right at that school district's location for a relatively low cost, and you're going to see those benefits going forward. The buses on the right-hand side, those are the Detroit Public Schools. They're actually run by ABC Student Transportation. They have almost 200 propane buses, and then that's their fueling station. So that's a 30,000 gallon tank that's right in their parking lot. Their drivers are able to fuel their buses, and they're able to see those emission savings, the fuel cost savings, and the maintenance as well. That's it for me.
Thanks, Chelsea. Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you to all of our board members. We had a board strategy meeting this morning, which was I think, really fun and refreshing and exciting to talk about how we continue to pivot and double down on our mission as we look toward 2025 and the future. Before we really dig into the agenda, I do want to talk about the fact that an election happened last week, and that's changing power dynamics. And that change breeds some uncertainty. But when we talked about this morning with the board, we work through uncertainty, we work through change. What we're trying to do here is create change. And so I'm really excited for us to double down, maybe change our tactics a little bit, and continue to work toward the future of clean fuels in Michigan. There's a lot of really exciting things happening. Here's 4 of dozens of media clips I could have put on the slides, from innovation and access to clean fuels, from sustainable aviation fuel to hydrogen to electric vehicles and beyond. There's a lot happening here, and that momentum is not going to slow down anytime soon. And so I'm really excited to see how Clean Fuels Michigan can continue to lead, because we know that mobility is here to stay, clean mobility is here to stay, and Michigan is the place to continue to iterate and innovate in the clean fuels space. We have a really awesome agenda for you today. We'll be in this room until the top of the hour. We then have 2 tour options. You'll be able to tour Charger Help's training lab or Michigan Central. And then we'll come back here and conclude with an hour from a short presentation about our transportation electrification policy roadmap, and then a panel about advancing clean mobility with innovative policy solutions. Oops. And with that, again, I can think of no better place to be talking about innovation and clean mobility. And so I'm really honored that Mark de Laverne has agreed to spend his time here being our keynote speaker for today. So Mark, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. Spend your afternoon here. Really excited. Unfortunately, I know some of you have seen this presentation at the My Healthy Michigan, so you're allowed to be on your phones, and I won't be offended, since I know you probably. But really want to walk you through, what is happening here. That was very sensitive. At Michigan Central, we got a lot of fanfare, obviously, from the station itself and the opening of the station. But the station is one piece of what we are trying to build here to drive ultimately, better outcomes, and that's better outcomes for people that are here today, as well as driving more growth and getting more people and more jobs here in Detroit and in Michigan. So, my goodness. Apologies. So we describe ourselves as a 30-acre technology and cultural hub. We'll walk through some of the properties that we own, but ultimately 30 acres around this area here in Corktown and Southwest. And we have 4 essential pillars of where we think that we're just a unique place that adds value to everything that's happening here in the city and the state. And one is the idea that we are an open platform. Ford purchased this building. Ford Land owns all this building, but these are not Ford buildings. The idea for everything that's going on here is an opportunity for everybody to come and collaborate and create these collisions that have really been missing between everybody doing innovation. And whether that's between a startup and an investor, or whether that's between 2 different founders, right, to just be able to share, or whether that's between somebody over at Ford doing something really cool and a senior software engineer who just didn't know each other and really can just begin to talk about it. And we just haven't had that, as opposed to you look at other cities like Austin or Miami or Denver, right? You see that, having that ability to have those pieces close. We're also looking to do this on the university side as well. We just announced last week a partnership with Wayne State University. They'll be taking up space. We're talking with the University of Michigan about taking space, Michigan State as well. So then we've got all the research institutes as well. So we reduce a lot of the competition that, to be honest, in my opinion, has held the state back, and begin to say, like, how do we all work together to build these ideas and work together for a better future? The second piece is driving economic development activity, and that's really focused in the startup space. This is a unique place. The assets that we have in this building pretty much are better than any other startup type building in the US, particularly if you're looking to build something. And really looking to both grow new companies, but also attract other companies that should be here. Because if you are doing a hard tech company in climate, I will tell you that like Austin is not the best place for you because it is expensive and supply chain doesn't exist. Whereas here, you know, there's a great opportunity for you to come and build stuff and be able to take advantage of the legacy assets that exist here, like workforce development, like our supply chain, like our contract manufacturers, like ROUSH, right? To be able to take advantage of all the expertise that is here that just doesn't exist in other places in the country. The third piece is just being this anchor institution, being able to hold events like this. We'll go across for those who goes across the street, we're holding a big event for business leaders in Michigan. This is becoming kind of a center of gravity for where people come, and not just in the tech space, but just overall to see that this is a real asset. And I can be honest with you, like I've done probably like 300 tours of the station at this point, and you know, it doesn't matter if I took a tour of somebody who like literally came here and didn't speak English 50 years ago, or somebody who hasn't been in Detroit in 10 years, the reaction is still the same, right? Of just this amazing building that, you know, just blows your mind whether you know the history of it or not. And it's just, you know, another asset that just the city and the region of state has not had before. And then the fourth is just from a destination standpoint. Today is not the greatest day to look at all the green space that we have out here, but between our little park out here, Roosevelt Park, the park that we're going to be building across behind the station, connecting down to the Ralph Wilson Park, it's tough to find like a better place to work. Of just being able to have amazing space inside, amazing space outside. So just again, being able to create that piece. Hopefully, we'll have a train in the future that stops here as well. To be able to start to add all these things of like this is the unique place that you need to be. Just to give you a sense of what's happening in this building. So this building we call New Lab at Michigan Central. The history of this building was originally it was the post office building. It was opened in like 1930s, and mail would come across the street from the station. There's a tunnel underneath. The mail would all come here, and then they would sort it out and send it out. Then it became the book depository building for Detroit Public Schools, and this is where all the books were. And then there was a fire in the late 80s, and Detroit Public School walked away from the building. There's actually some photos if you want to take a look around the corner later. But this building sat vacant for 3 decades. But nobody really knew it as anything. It was just basically the building next to the train station, because the train station took everyone's eye when you would walk through it, unfortunately. But it's been repurposed into our hub for startup activity, with a real focus around mobility and climate as our two pieces. So it was opened in April of 2023, and it's been about 18 months since it's been open. We've got 128 startups that are members here. There's a few here. They can raise their hand or you can talk to them later. And then we also have what we call network companies. So the state of Michigan is here. There's a number of venture capital firms here. Just other companies that aren't startups but add value to the startups here. But this is always the vision for what this building will be, is this will be a startup only building. We're happy to have corporates and other people around here, but we really want the startups to be able to not have things in their way so that they can build as quickly as possible. We've got the list of what we've got focused here. All you can sort of start to see that there's different ties to mobility and climate, but particularly on the hard tech side of people wanting to build things, that's really where we've been able to see a lot of growth here. So this is one of our success stories. This is Sam Shapiro. He's the founder of Grounded. He is doing EV RVs, so basically taking RVs and basically customizing them so that they are work for electrification, but also just creating a good experience inside. He was in Austin, was planning on being in Austin, but came up here and saw what we were building. He was one of the early founders to come here. He came, he just finished, actually it's not up here, he did his raise last week for his pre-seed for like $3 million. He's hiring really quickly. He's actually grown out of the space. We have another small building where it's like a little messy industrial area where you can really, that's a large size vehicle that you need space. But an example of somebody who's starting to come here and then start to find more space and find more space and find more space. And that's really what we start to believe is going to start to happen is these companies that are early stage come in, start to see success, and then start to get more and more space, and particularly in the manufacturing side. Gentle with the remote. Another company, WheelMe, international success story. They're a Norwegian-based company who were looking for a place to land, chose here. They're building basically to make anything autonomous. They build autonomous wheels that you can put on things. We had an art show where we had a giant elephant and we put the elephant on the autonomous wheels. It's a cool thing to just sort of combine them and put them, have them run around. Again, another company where Rasmus is not from Detroit, but has hired a bunch of folks here in the city. I think he's at like 15 or 20 hires, rapidly growing, focusing on, here's an opportunity for, particularly here in the region, for potential customers as well. One of the things that we are really focused on, though, is making sure that the startup ecosystem reflects the city that we are in. This has been a really purposeful focus of ours. We've run 2 different programs for community builders and residences, and through that have built 2 really, been able to support 2 really great founders of programs, one of which is called Black Tech Saturdays, which started with a few folks in this building saying there's not a really good community for Black founders in Detroit or people that are interested in tech. And so Johnny and his wife Alexa started Black Tech Saturdays and has now grown into this national thing in like 12 months, where they'll host like their annual event here and fill this building up with 1,200 people. They're just kind of going out. We haven't announced officially, but they're going to headquarter here, and then partnered with a woman named Megan Ward, with a group called Femology, who's focusing on female founders, who again, we were able to help seed. Now they are headquartered here as well, continuing to grow their programs. Because we do think it's important to start to be able to say, like, how do we continue to provide these opportunities for people that, are not able to, there are different challenges for female founders than there are for male founders. There are many different challenges for Black founders than there are for white founders, and being able to provide that support, as well as be able to start to provide the opportunities to say, like, this is something that we want different people to be part of. The pauses are really throwing the presentation off. Am I too far away, you think? So one of the things that we have found, though, over the year plus of what is of value is providing access to infrastructure. And this is a really hard thing for startups to get, right? Like, because you have to go work with government, it's super slow. They don't understand, like, why are they wasting time? Because for your 3-person company to access a bunch of limestone so that you can do carbon capture, right? But if you start to say, like, how do we do this at a scale level, and say, like, we're gonna start to make infrastructure assets available to everyone, it's a clear draw. And I think we've just begun to scratch the surface on what this opportunity is, particularly here in the state itself. Though, I'll kind of walk through a few of the things that are going on here. We have the city of Detroit put together what they call a transportation innovation zone. And essentially its goal is to make permitting as simple as possible in this general area right around here, so that you don't have to go get 12, 15, 20 different approvals to say, like, I want to go test my thing out and then be able to go out and test again. And we've seen some really good success stories from companies to do their first public test here and then be able to go then to other clients in different GovTech governments and say, I did it here, so this is the same process. It makes it much easier. We have a we call it the aerial deployment zone, or advanced aerial region. We have a big focus on advanced aerial right now on drones, but future on other types of vehicles using air. We have a really unique opportunity here to be able to do testing of drones in an urban area because we don't have necessarily the same congestion. We are the tallest building here, and there aren't a whole lot of tall buildings around here, but you can see from the top of the train station all the way out to like Henry Ford Hospital. So the opportunity to both do these types of flights, also do stuff with Canada, but then also looking at the opportunity to do manufacturing of those as well, particularly with different industrial policies happening with tariffs and things. These are the types of industries that are going to start to come back to America. So figuring out like how we can take advantage of that and get those companies here to build stuff. The Port of Monroe is really another good example. It's a small port down like 40 miles south of Detroit. Paul, the guy who runs it, and his team are amazing, but they're like 4 people who sit around a table and make decisions. There's no bureaucracy whatsoever. And so New Lab had announced a partnership with Port of Monroe saying, we're looking for startups who want to do works in port and water. And they got like 50 right off the bat. Because working with a port is a very challenging thing just due to you can't screw anything up, right? Because people rely so much on the good getting there in time. But Port of Monroe is still kind of a whiteboard of what you can do down there because they're starting to build stuff. So that's a piece. We're doing some work with Henry Ford. I mentioned the limestone. We continue to find these things of different, particularly climate tech startups who need a thing. We've been talking a lot on sort of what's the thing on hydrogen and what's the access that can be able to get companies to be there. Because if you can start to save costs, save time, like that's what the actual economic development attraction from a tool is for startups. It's not money. Like if I throw money at a startup of like $20,000, like that startup's going to go the next place where it has money. Like we need to create real pull where people want to be. If you wander around, you'll see the shop space that we have. We have shop space here on the first floor. We have a wood shop, electronics shop, a metal shop, CNC, a bunch of 3D printers. It all comes with membership here. So for a couple $100, if you're a one-person company, you get access to equipment that would cost you like $500 an hour in Seattle. So if you're looking to build stuff, that's a big piece. And then in the basement, we've partnered with a company called Beacon Manufacturing, who was formerly Detroit Bikes, who have built out the space for companies that are building electric bikes, electric ATVs, electric motorcycles, electric snow bikes, anything that's electric that's not a car, to be able to say how you can do it. Now we're starting to, the Beacon, a company called Bloom, and a company called at New Lab are starting to partner on a next space to create larger space for people to do that as well. So you can come here and say, here's how I can easily see how I'm going to scale through here and start to build relationships of how I can manufacture much more affordably. I think we have a bunch of the bikes out there of different companies that are manufacturing. Unfortunately, a lot of those companies are out in LA for the micromobility conference that's going on right now, but we've got about 40 of those companies that are here in different ways and continue to grow again with tariffs. This is David, founder here who moved from Mexico City, who's been built, he's on like version 4, I think, of his electric ATV. He's got a partnership that he's doing actually with the DNR here in Michigan to evaluate the electric ATV versus their gas ATVs to begin to get them to say, like, this is a thing that makes a lot of sense for us and can also have, we're not going to have the fleet downtime. So it's a really great thing of like, he's building the things here. The state is actually the first customer to begin to see where the opportunity is, but that's really kind of where these different opportunities exist here in Michigan, and we're just trying to put all the pieces together to make it work. Outside on 14th Street is the first electric road in America. We partnered with Electrion, Michigan Department of Transportation, and the city of Detroit. The technology, the way it works is it's kind of very similar to how you charge your phone. It's inductive charging underneath the road. You do need to have a special receiver in the vehicle, which is the one challenge, but it allows you to essentially charge on the road itself. So we do a lot of testing here just with Electrion to understand, this is the first one in America, so understanding, different weather conditions, if there any degradation over time, those types of pieces. They've got a few other projects planned. I think one's going to get announced pretty soon, this one being the first one. And this is the types of things we're also trying to do, is to be able to create that opportunity to do that testing so that the companies can then make their second, third, fourth project happen. I mentioned the drone piece, but also another piece of that is workforce and working with students. We do an annual drone day for high school kids and younger in Detroit. Google has a program in the station called Google Code Next, where they're working with students, high school students in Detroit, to be able to begin to allow them to see, like, where do I want to go? Do I want to code? Do I want to build drones? Like, where do I want to be able to start to do these things? When Bill Ford put all this together, it was very intentional about saying, like, there needs to be a real focus on kids, to be able to say, like, how can everyone begin to be part of it? So we're in inning one of how we begin to do this, but really trying to focus on that this is a place that everybody should be, and see where their path can go. We have a really unique public-private partnership with the city and state, where we're trying to drive outcomes that work for all of us. We're all aligned on the need for economic development, workforce development, community development, as well as just innovation happening around in this area. We are not out looking to make tons of money, right? Like, if we break even, we're in good shape. So it allows us to have a little bit more flexibility of how we can work with the city and state and all sort of start to drive. But the city and state sees $1 billion investment here around innovation. This is a once in a lifetime thing that's going to happen. So working really closely with us on how they can partner so we can all drive these types of outcomes. And the other piece is we do have a roundtable around the future of mobility that we bring a lot of companies to, so we can understand, particularly on the workforce side, where future needs are going to be, and whether those needs are happening like in California and we need to start to think through here, or just in general, we just know there's not enough of these, that we can start to utilize our leverage with the state and think through different programs that we can run. Big focus there. We've had lots of events. This is a great event space. Station's a great event space as well. We have lots of event spaces. There's no, the draft, actually we could have held the draft, but just like the timing would have been terrible, but with the park and everything. But the biggest event we've had here was called Reindustrialize. It basically filled the entire building up around the future of manufacturing and AI. Across the street, we can do 1,200 person events, but we can also do smaller type things, whether it's a classroom. So, it's a really good place just to get out of the traditional office space and come and see what's going on here and see cool stuff. You see people you just sometimes randomly see the governor and stuff. Like, that's the appeal of this building, and it's all open too, right? Like, we don't close it off. Like, you get to see everything that's happening every day. So the station, we'll talk more for the folks that come over to the station, but I used to work in the mayor's office. The mayor himself will tell you, like, he didn't think this building was ever coming back, just due to the size of what was going to need to happen to turn it into something. But Bill Ford's vision for this, he was the only person with the vision of what this could be, and the building is just truly stunning. We have completed the ground floor, the first floor itself. Ford has moved in, and Google Code Next is in. We've white boxed a bunch of the floors for office. Our coffee shop will hopefully open next week, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And the top 5 floors will be a hotel. And hopefully we will get going on that as soon as we can. But it's, we did not want to wait until everything was done to have people come in, particularly to be able to see the ground floor, just because it is such a really, really amazing experience. And to speak to that, we opened it this summer. We had probably the vision that, like, the first month it'd be really busy. The second month, people would still come. By the end of the summer, like, we'd just be there with each other, just being like, what's going on? But it did not happen. We had full days every single day through the end of the summer. We have weekends, but almost 175,000 people coming through. We're doing tours now, guided tours, where it's just crazy, like how many people are still coming to it. We'll be reopening it again in a couple of weeks for the holidays with some different programming, so it'll be even different to kind of come down and see. So, that's the goal, is to just like create the space where everyone can come and start to really be a part of seeing what's happening here. And even if you're just coming and giving us some money for some t-shirts, and some coffee, we're happy to do that. But just a really great place where people want to be, because it is I described it in June as like the happiest place on earth, because like everyone would just come in and smile, and just kind of continuing that vibe of